This is an unusual radio. This is a Ferguson 461. It's a British radio, made in the UK for the UK. Let's show the dial. Medium wave is broadcast, long wave, and then short wave. We've got 3 bands, and then phonograph. Of course, the dial string is broken, because why wouldn't it be? Great. Let's see, cabinet is kind of damaged here. I could probably cut that and patch it. A little damage down here. I might just pretend I didn't see that. A little damage here. Can cut and repatch that. The side, someone tried to refinish it or something. I don't know what's going on. So let's open this up. Well, I can tell you something right away. Power transformer's been replaced, and so has the rectifier tube. So that probably was done to make it work in the US, because this is not a 220 volt country. That's probably a good thing, actually. Make things a little easier. You don't need a step-up transformer. Let's see. Speaker and chassis are hardwired, which is great. Love that. Makes it a pain to deal with. So let me see if I can get this chassis out of here. So here we have the underneath. Honestly, this is all original except for the power transformer. So I think what happened is probably someone moved from the UK to the US and basically just had this converted, probably at a shop. They put in a new transformer and an American rectifier tube because the original one doesn't draw as much current. It's a little different. So yeah, so that's what they did. Love the blue. The blue is really cool. Anodized or whatever. Let's clean it up. Top side is pretty dirty. I'm just gonna flip this back over. Pretty dirty chassis. So I think that'll clean up nice. Okay, a couple things about this schematic here. It's kind of nice. Tells you really everything about it. So it tells you that it's a 4-valve, which is a tube, the British term for it. 4-valve plus rectifier, 3-band super hat. So that's pretty standard. Designed to operate between 200 and 250 volts, 50 cycles. Now we use 60 cycles here, but that won't matter. The transformer's been replaced, so it should operate on 120. That's good. Explain the shortwave range of 13.5 to 50 meters. That there's a external gramophone pickup and a high impedance speaker, which actually that will have high voltage on it, I think. Not sure about that, but I think it will. Release date and original price, September 1946. Well, it's almost October. Well, it is October. 2025, so this is quite old, almost 80 years. Original price, 22 pounds, plus 4 pounds, 14, the purchase tax. So 22 pounds is about, I don't know, what is that? $35, maybe? In today's money, that's quite a bit more, but yeah. So then they go on to explain about the circuit itself and what the tubes do, which is nice, although it's pretty straightforward. This is only a 5-tube radio. So the other thing that I liked about this is it explains not only what the parts are, but what they do. So, C1 is aerial medium wave coupling. So it's a coupling capacitor to the antenna for the broadcast band. V2 cathode bypass. Tells you the value there, 0.1. Here's another cathode bypass, V4 cathode bypass at C27, 25 microfarads. C28 and 20, or 29, I'm sorry. HT smoothing capacitors, those are your filter capacitors, just a different term. HT is like the B+. And that's about it. I mean, it's very straightforward. The schematic is drawn nicely. I like this bar for ground. That's kind of a nice design. I mean, you don't have to draw a schematic that way, but it is nice. It looks good. Other than that, they give you a parts layout, which is great. Makes things a little easier because I know exactly what I'm looking at. I don't have to figure it out. So other than the, things being changed for the transformer, and I do wonder if the B+ is going to be, oh, look at that, that's what I need. Although the cord drive system in this receiver is in itself very simple, the process of replacing the cord is somewhat complicated. Oh, good, complicated, and the instructions given should be followed carefully. It is essential that the replacement cord is made up to the correct length before it is fitted. Great. This is going to be fun. It looks simple, but it probably isn't because of that glass dial and everything. But you know what? It gives me a cleaning opportunity. So that's cool. I did not pay $40 for it at all, not even close. But yeah, so if nothing else, this will be interesting. It'll be fun. It'll be an opportunity to do something that, I wouldn't be able to do. And the other thing about this is I'm actually part British. My dad grew up in the UK, and my grandparents lived in the UK, and so I have a little stash of British radios. Never really worked on any of them. I worked on one at one point, and but that was it. Most of them I've never touched. This one I thought, I paid very little for it. If I can get it working, great. If not, then, Bad news. I checked. The field coil is open. Why do I always end up with radios with open field coils? It's such a pain. Okay, so does this end our project? If this will let me take it apart, and I don't know if it will. Some of these you can't. If I can, I could rewind the field coil. I've done it before and it's worked. So no, I mean, it's not going to hurt anything, to try it. Okay, I've decided the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to recap the radio first. The power transformer checks out okay. I don't see why the coils would be bad. This is a very simple radio. This is a 5-tube set, nothing special. This is very, very simple. There's not much rubber wiring, if any, maybe a couple pieces. Really well built, I have to say. I mean, it is British. Their electronics are not known to be great, but honestly, their radios were pretty good. So I think the way to approach this is to just change the caps, because they're bad. I know the field coil's bad. I'm going to attempt to repair that. I'm going to attempt to rewind it, actually. I don't know how successful I'll be, but I was successful with a couple Zeniths that I did, and the Zenith speakers are built a little differently. They actually allow you to unscrew the magnet, field coil assembly. This, it looks like you can, but only from the inside, so that means removing the cone first, which, again, I don't know. I'll try. I mean, worst case, I destroy it, and I'm using a permanent magnet speaker. So one thing I noticed here is they're using a 1,000-volt rated DC capacitor as the line bypass cap. Okay, got all the capacitors changed. The only thing is I still have to heat shrink those and deal with the field coil. Well, it's apart. It's your audio transformer. Here's the field coil. I removed this piece here. This just goes right like that. Centers over the coil. You have to do that very nicely, otherwise it will not work. But yeah, see, this is what sets the spacing for the voice coil. So that really has to be perfect to be aligned. So yeah, that's that. And then this is the field coil. So we're going to pull that off. Hopefully it will just come out. Yep, it looks like it will. All right, let's just show you how this works. So basically, I'm just winding the field coil like this. And I do this for quite some time. Doesn't really matter the speed or the number of turns. It's really all about the thickness of wire that gets used. So when you do this, you want to make sure that you are kind of getting it to about where it was before. So I marked it with black marker so I know kind of where to stop. You know, roughly have the same amount of wire on it as previously. Got the coil back together. It measures 450 or so ohms, which is not quite right, but it should be close enough. This hum neutralizing coil, I don't know if that's going to be on right either, but we'll find out. I'm going to go ahead and put this back together, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully we get something out of it. Hopefully it works. Okay. Got the volume up on this. I'm going to get my little tool here so I can test the... Actually, we're at 20 volts. Okay, I'm seeing some DC. That's good. Keep in mind it's going to sound terrible. The speaker cone needs to be glued down. I haven't done that yet. It's supposed to be 262 volts in this area. As the tubes warm up, it should start dropping, hopefully. I remember looking for 262. Of course, we got the bulb, so tubes must be warming up. Let's go up a little more. 70 volts. Here's something. A lot of oscillating.
System. I'll have an example of that straight ahead. Clarissa is in Bridgeport. She's been holding on. Clarissa, hi, how are you? Hello, Clarissa. Hello, Clarissa.
A little oscillating still. Not too bad.
7-11 of overtime. The fact that you were able to do what you did.
Okay, I just detuned one of the IFs. Sounds pretty good now.
But here's my... It's got... Yes, indeed. Ending the session above 67.50.
Then if he wants to sell it, he will.
Sounds good. So it plays good, sounds good. The issue that I'm having here is the B plus on the first filter, which is nothing right now, well, 2 volts. That is basically okay. It's a little high, but not terrible. The B plus on the second filter is too high. Well, I can do a couple things. I can reduce the voltage coming into the set. Now, of course, that's going to have an issue with the filament voltages. They'll be too low. The radio won't work properly. I mean, if I reduce it by a little bit, a few volts, yeah, that'll help. But it's not going to really bring B plus down. I'd have to reduce it quite a bit. I can also put a resistor between the first filter and the rectifier. That'll reduce the voltage quite a bit. And then also I can put in a resistor between the field coil and the first filter capacitor. So that just adds something to the filtering, which is probably the way to go here. Now, of course, I have to make space for it underneath, but I don't think that'll be an issue. I detuned this second IF here just slightly. It was squealing, so sometimes that helps, and it did. Took care of it. So I'm pretty happy with it. It's definitely going to be a good playing radio. The biggest problem here, which is really frustrating, is this dial string. I've got to replace the dial string, and unfortunately the way that this is put together is a pain, because I'd have to remove all of this glass. I have to remove this inner piece. I don't know if you can see it in here, the pointer. Yep, that pointer has to come off. So it's several pieces that have to come apart. That being said, it's a great opportunity to clean. So I realized I missed a cap right over here, so I changed that. And then I installed a 1.2K 20 watt resistor. This will be overkill. It'll get hot, but it's not really near anything except this cap, which I maybe can move out of the way. Let's see what I can do about that. I don't know. It's not great, but it's better. Okay, we're at 282. It's a little high,
area
but
today to celebrate the reopening of the road. For the voice of
one.
Connecticut, WICC, I'm John Kamal.
WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut. Weather update.
An autumn day on the way.
It's probably okay.
With a high and low 60s and a breeze
Well,
to the northeast.
what I'm worried about is the turn-on surge voltage would be very high. I have 500 volt rated capacitors in here. Now, that should be okay for 95% of radios, but there are a few that use a higher B plus that they may not be. I hate just throwing resistors in everywhere, but may have to get this to be right. Unfortunately, when you put this transformer is probably out of a 7 or 8 tube radio. It looks like a Zenith transformer. Actually, I couldn't find a part number on it, but I've worked on enough Zeniths to know that this looks like it's a Zenith transformer, probably out of something from the late 30s. Obviously, it has a 5 volt winding, so it's got a 5Y3 in it. So my guess is it's probably it's either it's not a 1942 model, because those they put in a potting, a potted thing. I bet it's a 38 or 37 Zenith, probably a 7 tube tabletop or something. Yeah, so it does work. It works fine, but I'm concerned about the surge at turn on. Most people don't care. They'll say, oh, it works, good enough. And then eventually that filter cap, even though, it'll go above 500 volts for a few seconds, that's fine, but it will shorten the life, and I'm not trying to do that. I'd like this to work for a long time. So the way to handle that is probably my guess is probably putting a resistor in, again, another resistor, might as well. Maybe I can find something I can bolt to the chassis. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, the schematic calls for 345 volts. We're at 333. I think that's okay.
And 30's early nighters. But those still...
A witch hunt. It said so from the beginning, even though he did attend the trial and a jury convicted him.
Radio's nice and
He
sensitive.
is in the middle of pursuing retribution against political adversaries who pursued him over the last 6 years.
Sounds good.
U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, however, saying no one is above the law.
That is the long wave band.
Trust.
Shortwave band.
James saying herself, this is nothing more than a
So
continuation.
now we've got the
of the
dial string
president's
to
desperate
fix.
weapon as they-
So I figured out where the power transformer came from. It is a part number 95-415N, and it came from a 1937 or so Zenith 6S229, which is a Tombstone tabletop. Probably also used in a console. I'm not sure which model that would be, but I'm guessing it would be. So yeah, 6-tube radio. So this is a 5-tube, 700 volt with a center tap. That's fairly high. So that does make sense that this would then probably need, I mean, it certainly should be adequate for this, but it would put out a slightly higher voltage than what it probably did in the Zenith, because there's one less tube. Although that output tube, I think, uses a fair bit of current. I'm not sure what it is. Pentone EL33. I think it's basically like a 6V6, maybe a little bit enhanced. I think it can handle a higher plate voltage. But other than that, that's kind of interesting. So at least I know where that transformer came from. It seems to test okay. I have no problem with it. So, you know, that's fine. I did put a dropping resistor in there. You can kind of see it down there. And that should be okay. It's basically going to drop the voltage to a more normal voltage, which is actually okay because these transformers, being a Zenith transformer from the 30s, they do not tolerate high line voltages. Okay, I got this. You'd think for such an easy dial mechanism, this would be really, really easy, right? Well, it's not, because the attachments are on the inside of this dial drum, and that makes it very hard to get to. The additional problem is you have to remove all this stuff. So I had to take a lot of stuff off to get it to actually fit. But I do have it now, so we've got something. Now I got to put it all back together, but it gave me an opportunity to clean a little bit, so that's nice.
They need to bring back the truant officers. Remember the little rascals, the truant officers?
New Jersey's leading experts for over 38 years. Today, call 844-844-iHeart or go to iHeartAdvertising.com. That's 844-844-iHeart.
Alignment's not quite right, but it's pretty close.
What came first, the chicken or the egg or the bird? Disney Jeep. I'll tell you one thing about Woodstock, though.
Before we missed the concert.
Pulling over. You had... Call them today at 866-JET-HEAT. That's 866...
Fine-tuning is kind of nice.
I did like a nice... I liked a nice stew, personally. You know, good old-fashioned, especially in winter. I used to have a stew on the go with dumplings, 24/7.
So, not too bad. Cabinet's okay. I repaired this one little area here.
That the Bikishi, the sumo wrestlers eat, called Chanko Nabi. It's very, very similar, but of course...